In medieval Scotland, a young Princess Merida of the Celt clan Dunbrocks celebrates her birthday and is given a bow and arrow by her father, King Fergus, dismaying his wife Queen Eleanor. In the forest, Merida encounters a will-o'-the-wisp and follows the other wisps to her family, and Mor'du, a huge demon bear, attacks the family. Fergus and his men fend off Mor'du, though the fight costs Fergus one of his legs. 10 years later, Merida lives in the castle with her father King Fergus, mother Eleanor, and 3 younger brother triplets. She is a bit of a tomboy and dislikes the constant princess training her mother puts her through. Every so often she gets a day off and spends it with her horse Angus, riding through the countryside and practicing with her bow, of which her skill would make Robin Hood stand up and take notice. Letters arrive at the castle one evening that the 3 other clans are coming to present their sons as suitors for Merida. Merida wants nothing to do with this, but finds a possible out when she discovers the competition they must win is an event chosen by the princess herself. She chooses archery, and on the day of the games boldly announces she will compete for her own hand, winning easily with 3 straight bullseyes. Her mother is furious, as are the other clans, for this break in tradition. In a fit of fury, Merida rips apart a tapestry her mother made, and Eleanor casts Merida's precious bow into the fire, causing Merida to run away into the forest. While wandering in the countryside, Merida comes across magical will-o'-the-wisps which guide her to a small cottage. Inside is a room packed with wood carvings, all crafted by an energetic old woman eager to sell them. Quickly Merida notices that there's magic all around the house, and discovers the old woman is actually a witch. She agrees to buy all the carvings, but only if the witch will create a spell to change her mother so she doesn't have to go through with the marriage. The spell is made in the form of a small cake, which Merida takes back to her mother. The cake suddenly turns Eleanor into a black bear, much like the beast that many years ago took King Fergus' leg in battle. She and her daughter sneak out of the castle and rush back to the witch's hut, only to find it deserted with a message saying that the spell will be permanent after the second sunrise, unless Merida repairs the bond that was severed. She and her mother spend the night in the forest and in the morning catch fish in the river, something the queen must be taught how to accomplish by her daughter and bringing the two closer together. However, suddenly Eleanor's memories are erased and she turns into a real savage bear. She regains her composure, but they discover what will happen if they do not break the spell. Believing that the bond that was severed was the tapestry that Merida ruined in the argument with her mother the previous day, the two return to the castle and sneak inside to repair it. The king finds them just as Eleanor once again loses control of her human mind, and he gathers his men to chase the beast, thinking it has killed his wife. Merida is locked in the tower, but gets free with help from her 3 young brothers who mischievously also ate some of the cake and are now baby bears. She races to the rescue of her mother just as the army is about to close in, but the huge bear that took Fergus' leg shows up and it becomes a fight between the bear Eleanor to protect her daughter and the monstrous bear who is actually an enchanted Scotsman from years gone by, also under a spell by the witch. The frightening bear is defeated and the Scotsman's soul is released back into the magic of the world. Merida repairs the tapestry quickly, just as the sun begins to rise, but it seems too late. Her mother is still a bear. As Merida hugs Eleanor, apologizing and proclaiming her love for her mother, Eleanor turns back into a human and all is restored. At the end of the day, it is decided that instead of betrothal, each clansman will have the chance to win Merida's love before she chooses anyone to marry.
Cinderella. Once upon a time, in a grand kingdom, there lived a kind and gentle girl named Cinderella. She had once been surrounded by love, but after her father's passing, she found herself at the mercy of her wicked stepmother and stepsisters. They treated her as a servant in her own home, forcing her to do all the household chores. Cinderella's only solace was her bond with the animals of the estate, who adored her as much as she adored them. Despite her hardships, she never lost her capacity for kindness and remained hopeful for a better future. A royal ball was announced in honor of the prince's search for a bride. Cinderella's stepsisters were overjoyed, but Cinderella knew she would be forbidden to attend. However, with a little bit of magical intervention from her fairy godmother, her rags were transformed into a beautiful gown, and a pumpkin turned into a magnificent carriage. At the ball, Cinderella captured the prince's heart with her grace and charm. They danced the night away until the clock struck midnight. In her haste to leave, Cinderella rushed away, leaving behind a glass slipper. The prince was determined to find the owner of the glass slipper, and he went from house to house until he arrived at Cinderella's doorstep. Her stepsisters tried to squeeze their feet into the slipper, but it was Cinderella to whom it perfectly fit. And so, Cinderella's days of hardship came to an end as she was whisked away to the palace to marry the prince. With kindness, courage, and a touch of magic, Cinderella's story proved that no matter how tough life may seem, goodness and love will ultimately prevail.
In the Mexican town of Santa Cecilia, a young woman named Imelda marries a man who eventually leaves her and their daughter Coco to pursue a music career. When he never returns, Imelda bans music from her family and opens a shoemaking business. Decades later, Imelda's great-great-grandson Miguel lives in the family home with his parents and relatives, including an elderly and ailing Coco. Despite the family's continued ban on music, Miguel secretly loves it and teaches himself to play guitar by watching videos of his idol, the late musician Ernesto de la Cruz. On the Day of the Dead, Miguel inadvertently bumps the family ofrenda and breaks a frame containing a photo of Imelda and an infant Coco. He discovers a hidden section of the photograph that shows his great-great-grandfather, whose head has been torn from the photo, holding Ernesto's famous guitar. Believing this proves Ernesto is his relative, Miguel excitedly tells his family about his musical aspirations. In response, Miguel's grandmother destroys his guitar, causing him to shun his family. Distraught, Miguel breaks into Ernesto's mausoleum and takes his guitar to use in a local talent competition. Once Miguel strums it, he becomes invisible to all living people. However, he can interact with his skeletal dead relatives, who are visiting from the land of the dead for the holiday. Taking him back with them, they realize Imelda cannot visit since Miguel removed her photo from the ofrenda. Miguel also discovers that he has been cursed for stealing from the dead. He must receive a family blessing to return to the living world before sunrise, or he will remain in the land of the dead forever. Imelda offers him a blessing on the condition that he abandons music, but Miguel refuses and seeks Ernesto's blessing instead. Miguel encounters Hector, a down-on-his-luck skeleton who once performed with Ernesto. Hector offers to bring Miguel to Ernesto in exchange for Miguel placing his photo on an ofrenda so he can visit his daughter before she forgets him, which would cause him to fade from existence. Hector helps Miguel perform in a talent competition to win entry to Ernesto's mansion, but Miguel flees after being discovered by his family. Miguel sneaks into Ernesto's mansion and is welcomed by a surprised Ernesto, but Hector appears and accuses Ernesto of stealing his songs. As the two argue, Miguel slowly pieces together the truth. Ernesto and Hector were once a musical act on the brink of fame until Hector grew homesick and tried to leave. Unable to write songs himself, Ernesto poisoned Hector and stole his guitar and songs to pass off as his own. To protect his legacy, Ernesto seizes Hector's photo and has Miguel and Hector thrown into a cenote pit. There, Hector reveals that his daughter is named Coco, thus making him Miguel's actual great-great-grandfather. After being rescued by his family, Miguel reveals the truth about Hector's death, and Imelda and Hector reconcile. The family infiltrates Ernesto's concert to retrieve Hector's photo. Ernesto's crimes are exposed to the audience, who quickly turn on him, and he is crushed by a falling bell, mirroring his fate in real life, although Hector's photograph is lost in the chaos. As the sun rises, Imelda and a fading Hector bless Miguel without condition and return him to the living world. Back home, Miguel apologizes to his family for running away and plays "Remember Me" on Hector's guitar, brightening Coco to sing with him. She shares that she kept the torn piece of the photo with Hector's face, then tells her family stories about her father, preserving his memory and existence in the land of the dead. Miguel reconciles with his family and their ban on music is finally lifted. 1 year later, Miguel shows his new baby sister the family ofrenda, now displaying photos of Hector and a recently deceased Coco, while Coco's collected letters from Hector prove Ernesto's theft of his songs, leading to Ernesto's disgrace and Hector's rightful recognition. In the land of the dead, Hector joins Imelda, Coco, and their family to visit the living world. Miguel performs a heartfelt song for his living and dead relatives.
An armed conflict forces young couple Pedro and Alma Madrigal to flee their home village in Colombia with their infant triplets, Julieta, Pepa, and Bruno. Pedro is killed, but the candle Alma carries gains a magical power that repels the attackers and creates Casita, a sentient house located in a magical realm bordered by mountains. 50 years later, a new village thrives under the candle's protection, which grants gifts to each Madrigal descendant when they turn 5, which they use to serve the villagers. Bruno, who was vilified and scapegoated for his precognition, disappeared 10 years earlier, and Julieta's youngest daughter, Mirabel, inexplicably did not receive a gift. 10 years after that, Pepa's youngest son, Antonio, is granted the ability to communicate with animals. During the celebration, the Madrigals unwittingly exclude Mirabel from being in a family photo. Mirabel sees Casita cracking and the candle's flame flickering and alerts her family, but Casita repairs itself, causing disbelief in Mirabel. After overhearing Alma lament the candles fading that night, Mirabel resolves to restore Casita's magic herself. Her older sister Luisa, who possesses superhuman strength, confesses to Mirabel that she feels overwhelmed by her constant obligation to help the villagers using her strength, which has been faltering. She suggests to Mirabel that Bruno's room, located inside a forbidden tower in Casita, may hold the secret to the fading magic. Mirabel finds a cave in Bruno's room that holds pieces of his last vision made of opaque emerald. Alma and the family warn Mirabel not to investigate further, but she reassembles the pieces and sees herself with Casita cracking behind her. Mirabel's father Augustin accidentally discovers Mirabel and warns her to keep the vision a secret, but they are overheard by Pepa's daughter Dolores, who possesses supernatural hearing. Mirabel's oldest sister Isabella, who can make plants and flowers instantly grow at will, is scheduled to be engaged to the Madrigal's neighbor Mariano Guzman. Amidst Mariano's proposal, an awkward dinner, and Dolores telling everyone about Mirabel's discovery, Casita begins to crack again, and everyone loses control of their gifts. Mirabel follows rats carrying the pieces of the vision to a secret passage behind a portrait, where she finds Bruno, who reveals he never left Casita, and his visions alternate between Mirabel saving Casita and destroying it, leading him to believe she is the key to the fate of Casita's magic. Not wanting Mirabel to be hurt, he destroyed the vision and isolated himself. At Mirabel's insistence, Bruno conjures another vision that depicts Mirabel and Isabella, who have a strained relationship, hugging, which strengthens the candle. Mirabel attempts to apologize to Isabella, who confesses she is burdened by her image of perfection and does not want to marry Mariano. Mirabel helps Isabella use her powers more freely and they hug. Alma arrives and furiously blames Mirabel for causing the family's misfortunes out of spite for not having a gift. In response, Mirabel denounces Alma's behavior and asserts that her harmful expectations for her family are the true cause of Casita dying, which horrifies Alma. In the ensuing argument, Casita is demolished as the candle extinguishes, leaving the Madrigals powerless. Distraught, Mirabel runs away. Alma finds Mirabel tearfully sitting beside the river where Pedro was killed and where the miracle had begun. Alma realizes that her obsession with preserving the magic made her oblivious to how her expectations and pressure were harming the family. She expresses remorse, reconciles with Mirabel, and reunites with Bruno. The three return to the village and assemble the other Madrigals to rebuild Casita, and the townspeople join in, restoring the family's gifts and reviving Casita. The Madrigals celebrate and take another family photo, this time including Mirabel and Bruno.
Frozen. Once upon a time in the enchanting kingdom of Arendelle, there lived two sisters, Elsa and Anna. Elsa had a magical power to control ice and snow, but she was also hiding a secret that made her afraid of hurting others. Anna, on the other hand, was a fun and spirited young princess, always curious and eager to explore. One bright morning, Elsa decided to surprise Anna with a special gift. She used her magical powers to create a beautiful ice castle in the courtyard of their palace. The castle sparkled like 1,000 diamonds and had the most amazing ice sculptures. Elsa had made sure that it was a place where they could have endless fun and never be bored. Anna was thrilled with her sister's gift and spent hours playing in the ice castle. She slid down the icy slides, built snowmen, and even had a friendly snowball fight with Elsa. As the days passed, the two sisters grew closer and happier than ever before. One day, while Elsa was practicing her powers, something unexpected happened. A tiny snowflake landed on her finger, and with a spark of magic, it turned into a little snowman. Elsa was amazed. She named him Olaf, and he came to life, just like Elsa's ice creations. Olaf was a jolly and talkative snowman who loved warm hugs. He became a cherished friend for Anna and Elsa, and they spent their days playing together in the icy wonderland. However, Elsa's powers began to grow out of control. The entire kingdom was covered in an eternal winter, and Elsa had unintentionally frozen everything. Anna, determined to help her sister, embarked on a daring journey to find the truth about Elsa's powers. She was joined by a rugged ice harvester named Kristoff, his loyal reindeer Sven, and the comical snowman, Olaf. Their journey was filled with adventures, including a run-in with a massive, magnificent ice monster, the discovery of Elsa's past, and a fierce blizzard. With bravery and determination, Anna and her friends reached the top of a snowy mountain, where they finally found Elsa's magnificent ice palace. Inside the palace, Anna confronted Elsa, and in the process, Elsa accidentally struck her sister with her powers. Anna began to freeze, and only an act of true love could save her. Elsa, realizing the power of love, hugged her sister tightly, thawing the frozen heart. Love had melted Elsa's fear, and the kingdom of Arendelle was restored to its summery beauty. Elsa and Anna learned that love was the most powerful magic of all. With their bond stronger than ever, the two sisters, along with Kristoff, Sven, and Olaf, lived happily in Arendelle, where the warmth of love and the joy of magic made every day an adventure. And so, in the kingdom of Arendelle, they celebrated the love and friendship that had thawed a frozen heart and brought happiness to all.
Lightning McQueen's Big Race. Once upon a time in the bustling town of Radiator Springs, there lived a famous race car named Lightning McQueen. He was shiny and red, and he loved to go fast. Lightning McQueen had many friends in Radiator Springs, including Mater the tow truck, Sally the blue Porsche, and Doc Hudson, the wise old race car. One sunny morning, Lightning McQueen woke up feeling very excited. He had received an invitation to participate in the biggest race of the year, the Piston Cup Championship. Lightning McQueen couldn't believe his luck. He had always dreamed of winning the Piston Cup, and now he had a chance to make that dream come true. He hurried to Flo's V8 Cafe, where all his friends were having breakfast.
"Guess what, everyone?"
Lightning McQueen exclaimed.
"I've been invited to race in the Piston Cup Championship."
His friends cheered and clapped. They were all so happy for Lightning McQueen.
"That's amazing, buddy,"
Mater said, his tow hook spinning with excitement. Sally smiled at Lightning McQueen and said,
"You've got this, Lightning. We'll be here cheering you on the whole way." Doc Hudson, the wise old race car, pulled Lightning McQueen aside.
"Winning the Piston Cup is a big deal, but remember, it's not just about speed. It's also about teamwork and determination."
Lightning McQueen nodded, knowing that Doc Hudson was right. He had learned many valuable lessons from his friends in Radiator Springs, and he was ready to put them to good use in the big race. The days flew by as Lightning McQueen practiced tirelessly. He worked on his speed, his turns, and his racing strategy. Mater helped him with his pit stops, and Sally was always there to encourage him. Doc Hudson shared his racing wisdom with Lightning McQueen, teaching him that being a great racer meant being a great friend too. Finally, the day of the Piston Cup Championship arrived. Lightning McQueen lined up at the starting line with the other racers. He felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness, but he knew he had his friends and the lessons he had learned in Radiator Springs to guide him. As the race began, Lightning McQueen gave it his all. He raced against the fastest cars in the world, but he didn't forget what Doc Hudson had taught him about teamwork and determination. When he made a pit stop, Mater and Sally worked quickly and efficiently to get him back on the track. The race was intense, with twists and turns, but Lightning McQueen didn't give up. He remembered the support of his friends, and it pushed him to go faster and race harder. In the end, Lightning McQueen crossed the finish line first, winning the Piston Cup Championship. The crowd cheered, and Lightning McQueen's friends from Radiator Springs rushed to congratulate him. They knew that it was not just Lightning's victory, it was a victory for all of them. And so, Lightning McQueen and his friends in Radiator Springs continued to live happily ever after.
In the summer in the 1950s, timid sea monster child Luca Paguro herds goatfish off the coast of the Italian town of Porto Rosso. One day, Luca meets Alberto Scorfano, a fellow sea monster kid living alone in an abandoned lighthouse. Alberto demonstrates how sea monsters transform into humans when they are dry. Luca begins sneaking out to meet Alberto against his parents' order to stay away from the surface, fearing that he might be hunted by humans. The boys quickly become friends, wishing to own a Vespa and travel around the world. Upon discovering Luca's actions, his parents decide to send him to live in the deep with his uncle Hugo. To avoid this, Luca runs away from home and hides in Porto Rosso with Alberto. The boys run afoul of Ercole Visconti, the local bully and 5-time champion of the Porto Rosso Cup, a triathlon of swimming, pasta eating, and biking. When Ercole tries to soak Luca in a fountain, Giulia Marcovaldo, a young girl, stops him. In hopes of winning the money needed for a Vespa, the boys team up with Giulia for the triathlon. Giulia invites them to stay at her house and introduces her fisherman father, Massimo, who is prejudiced against sea monsters. Meanwhile, Luca's parents infiltrate the town to find their son. Giulia and Luca bond over their love of learning, to Alberto's ire. When Luca shows interest in attending school, Alberto intentionally reveals his own sea monster form to Giulia to prevent it. Unwilling to give himself up, Luca feigns shock at the transformation, and a betrayed Alberto flees as Ercole's gang arrives to hunt him. Shortly after, Giulia finds out that Luca is a sea monster as well, and sends him away for his safety. Luca heads to Alberto's hiding place in an effort to reconcile with him, and learns that Alberto was abandoned by his father long ago. Though Alberto declines to participate in the triathlon, Luca promises to win the Vespa to rebuild their friendship. The triathlon begins with Luca and Giulia competing separately. Luca successfully completes the swimming race in a diving suit, and the pasta eating contest without revealing himself. But rain begins during the bike race. Alberto shows up to give Luca an umbrella, but Ercole knocks it away, exposing Alberto's sea monster form and shocking the spectators and Ercole. Luca rescues Alberto, revealing his own true form, and the two bicycle towards the finish to get to the ocean. Giulia deliberately collides with Ercole's bike to stop him from harpooning Luca and Alberto, who unintentionally cross the finish line before turning back to help the fallen Giulia. When Ercole and the other townsfolk confront the boys, Massimo stands up for them and insists that they have won. Luca is reunited with his family, and the humans accept the sea monsters. Luca and Alberto buy an old Vespa with their winnings, but Alberto sells it to get a train ticket for Luca, allowing him to go to school in Genova with Giulia. Luca's family, Massimo, and Alberto see Luca and Giulia off at the train station, where they all promise to stay in touch.
Mickey Mouse and the Magical Adventure. Once upon a time, in the sunny town of Toontown, Mickey Mouse and his friends had a special club called the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. This clubhouse was not just an ordinary place, it was filled with incredible gadgets, magical tools, and, of course, the best pals anyone could wish for: Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, and Pluto. One bright and cheerful morning, the clubhouse phone rang with a loud toot, toot. It was Professor Ludwig von Drake, the cleverest inventor in Toontown. He sounded very excited and said,
"Mickey, my friend, I need your help. I've discovered something amazing, a magic key that can open doors to the most fantastic adventures."
Mickey, always up for an adventure, gathered his friends, and they hopped on their special transforming car, the Toodlesmobile. With a spin and a twist, it turned into anything they needed, from a submarine to a spaceship. This time, it became a magical key finder. Their first stop was the enchanted forest, where a colorful bird named Toodles, who had a key-shaped beak, helped them find the magic key. The key was glittering with all the colors of the rainbow.
To unlock the adventures, you need to solve riddles and puzzles.
Professor Von Drake explained. The friends were up for the challenge. With the magic key in hand, they set off on a journey to unlock new worlds and explore the unknown. Their first adventure took them to a world of talking animals. Mickey and his friends helped a wise old owl find his lost glasses by solving a puzzle. As a reward, the owl shared a magical storybook filled with stories from all over the world. Next, the magic key opened a door to a land of living toys. Here, they met a playful teddy bear who had lost his favorite toy train. By working together and piecing the puzzle together, they found the train and set off on an exciting ride through Toyland. Their last adventure took them to a colorful and musical kingdom, where they helped the Jolly King organize a grand dance party. Everyone danced to the rhythm of the lively music, making new friends and memories. With each adventure, Mickey and his friends learned valuable lessons about teamwork, problem-solving, and kindness. They also made new friends and created memories that would last a lifetime. Finally, it was time to return home to the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. They bid farewell to the magical worlds they had visited, and the magic key disappeared, promising more adventures in the future. Back in their cozy clubhouse, they shared stories and laughter, knowing that they would always be there for each other and ready for the next incredible adventure that would come their way. And so, Mickey Mouse and his friends continued to live happily ever after, in the clubhouse filled with love, laughter, and the promise of endless adventures.
Moana's adventure on the magical island. Once upon a time, on a beautiful tropical island, there lived a brave and adventurous girl named Moana. She had always been fascinated by the ocean and dreamt of exploring the vast waters beyond her island's horizon. One sunny morning, as Moana was helping her grandmother, Tala, in the garden, Tala told her stories about a mysterious island that held a powerful secret. This island was said to have the ability to bring life to the oceans and protect all the creatures living within them. Moana's heart swelled with curiosity and excitement as she listened to her grandmother's tales. That night, Moana couldn't sleep. The stories her grandmother had shared filled her dreams with visions of the magical island. She knew in her heart that she had to find it and ensure that the ocean remained healthy and teeming with life. The next morning, Moana gathered her courage, packed some food, and set out on a journey in a small boat. The ocean was vast and wild, but Moana was determined to find the magical island. She sailed for days, facing storms and huge waves, but her determination never wavered. One evening, as the sun was setting, Moana spotted a distant island covered in lush greenery and shimmering with an otherworldly glow. It was the magical island from her grandmother's stories. Moana's heart raced with excitement as she paddled toward it. As Moana approached the island, she noticed something strange. The island seemed to be in trouble. Its beautiful plants were withering, and the once glistening waters around it were murky and lifeless. Moana knew she had to act quickly to save the island and fulfill her mission. Moana explored the island, searching for clues on how to restore its magic. She climbed to the highest peak and discovered a hidden cave. Inside, she found a glowing gemstone that was the source of the island's power. But the gemstone was fading, and the island's magic was diminishing. With the gemstone in hand, Moana realized that she needed to return it to its rightful place. With determination and the help of the ocean, Moana swam through treacherous underwater caves, faced challenges, and overcame obstacles. She finally reached the heart of the island, a sacred pool of water. Moana gently placed the gemstone back where it belonged, and instantly, the island began to come back to life. Plants flourished, and the waters sparkled with life once more. Moana had saved the magical island, just as her grandmother's stories had foretold. She knew that her journey had been worth it, and the ocean would thrive thanks to her bravery and determination. As Moana sailed back home, she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had not only fulfilled her dream of exploring the ocean but also saved a magical island and protected the sea creatures who depended on it. Moana returned to her village as a hero, and her grandmother Tala's stories became legendary tales of bravery and adventure. And so, the brave and adventurous Moana continued to protect her island and the ocean, ensuring that they remained healthy and full of life for generations to come.
In a magical kingdom where beauty and appearances hold great power, 7 heroic princes, known as the Fearless Seven, Merlin, Arthur, Jack, Hans, and identical triplets Pino, Noki and Kio, save a fairy princess from a dragon. However, once they see her green face, they assume that she is a witch and attack her. To teach them a lesson, she curses them to transform into green dwarfs. Whenever people look at them, and the only way to undo the curse is if they receive a kiss from the most beautiful woman in the world. 7 years later, the king's overweight but strong daughter, Princess Snow White, Snow, returns to her family castle, where her stepmother, Queen Regina, has taken over. She finds a diary about how Queen Regina had taken over the kingdom with a warning from her father, the rightful king, not to touch the shoes she finds hanging on a tree. Snow puts on the shoes regardless, and they transform her into a slim version of herself. Queen Regina suddenly attacks her, unaware that she is Snow. Snow escapes but crashes at the dwarf's house, alerting the 7 nearby. They prepare to attack, thinking she is the fairy princess, but welcome her into their home upon seeing her. In the dwarf's house, Snow is shocked when she sees herself in the mirror, and introduces herself as Red Shoes. The 7 are immediately smitten by her and agree to help her find her father, striving to impress her so she might kiss them. Regina hires the selfish Prince Average of a neighboring realm, who sends his soldiers after Snow. Though she is saved by Merlin, Average attacks the dwarfs and tries to abduct Red Shoes but fails. That night, Snow and Merlin grow emotionally closer. Regina gives Average and his bodyguards a magic apple and turns them into monsters. In a secluded forest, Snow tries to give Merlin a hint about her real self, but instead confesses her feelings for him, and they kiss. Merlin is shocked to see that the kiss did not undo his curse, as he still thinks Snow is the prophetic beautiful woman. He fights off an attack by Average, who falls into a river, taking Merlin with him. Snow saves Merlin but accidentally loses her shoes. She tells Merlin that he would not have helped her real self, so Merlin leaves, ashamed. She then puts on her shoes again in an attempt to reconcile with him, knowing Merlin likes her for her looks more than herself. Merlin talks with his dwarf self and, realizing that Snow White likes him for himself, decides to help her. In the forest, Queen Regina disguises herself as Merlin and asks Snow to eat the apple and take off her shoes. But the real Merlin arrives, and the exposed queen escapes with Snow. Queen Regina tries to force Snow to eat the apple. When her stepdaughter refuses, she threatens to kill a captured Merlin. Snow tells Merlin to save her father, and eats the apple, transforming her into an apple tree. Merlin fails to escape from Queen's mirror, until the other dwarfs save him. Merlin sacrifices himself by falling down the castle with Regina to save Snow. Pino, Noki, and Ko take him to Snow, and he admits his sincere romantic feelings before dying in her arms. Snow gives Merlin one last kiss, reviving him and restoring his human form for good. They happily accept each other's appearances, while the other dwarfs remain confused by Snow White's true appearance. In the end, Snow and Merlin marry, while the other princes find their own unusual-looking girlfriends. The fairy princess fishes Average out of a river and turns him into another green dwarf after he makes a rude remark.
Mulan's warrior training. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled at the foot of a lush green mountain, there lived a spirited young girl named Mulan. She was known for her courage and determination, but she had a secret dream that she held close to her heart. She wanted to become a warrior. In Mulan's village, being a warrior was considered a man's duty. Girls were expected to learn traditional skills like cooking and sewing. But Mulan was not like other girls. She yearned for adventure and longed to make her family proud with her bravery. One sunny morning, as Mulan was watching the village men practice their swordplay, she couldn't contain her curiosity any longer. She approached her father, who was a retired warrior, and said,
"Father, I want to be a warrior too. I want to protect our village."
Her father smiled, seeing the fire in her eyes, and agreed to help her. He decided to teach her the ways of the warrior, despite society's expectations. Mulan was ecstatic and eager to begin her training. Every day, before the rooster crowed, Mulan would wake up to start her training. She learned to wield a sword, shoot arrows, and ride a horse. She practiced balance and agility. Her father was a patient teacher, and he could see her determination growing stronger with each passing day. However, there was one thing Mulan struggled with: disguising herself as a man. Her father knew that she wouldn't be accepted as a warrior if her true identity was revealed. So, he taught her how to bind her chest, tie her hair under a cap, and walk and talk like a man. Mulan worked tirelessly to perfect this disguise. Months passed, and Mulan's skills improved significantly. She was ready to prove herself in a real battle. News had spread that invaders were approaching their village, and the warriors were called to defend it. Mulan knew this was her chance to show her worth. With her father's blessing, Mulan joined the army under a false name, Ping. She felt a mix of fear and excitement as she stood alongside the other warriors, all of them unaware of her true identity. The battle was fierce, and Mulan fought with all her might. Her skills as a warrior were put to the test, and she surprised everyone with her courage and strength. In the end, Mulan's bravery and determination saved her village. The invaders were defeated, and the villagers celebrated their victory. When the time came for rewards, Mulan revealed her true identity to the astonished army and villagers. Mulan had proven that courage and determination know no gender. She became a hero in her village, and her father was immensely proud of her. From that day forward, the village's traditions started to change, and young girls were encouraged to follow their dreams, just like Mulan did. And so, the story of Mulan's warrior training became a legend in her village, inspiring generations to come with the belief that anyone, regardless of their gender, could achieve their dreams through hard work and determination.
Rapunzel's Tower of Dreams. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled between rolling hills and lush forests, there lived a young girl named Rapunzel. Rapunzel was known far and wide for her beautiful long hair, which shimmered like spun gold. But Rapunzel had a secret, a magical tower hidden deep within the forest that she called the Tower of Dreams. The Tower of Dreams was unlike any other tower in the world. It was a place where dreams came to life, and it was Rapunzel's most cherished possession. Every night, she would climb the tower's winding staircase and enter a room filled with enchanted books, sparkling crystals, and glowing fireflies. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Rapunzel made her way to the Tower of Dreams. She lit the lanterns that lined the staircase, their warm glow casting a magical light on her path. Rapunzel had a special dream that night, to visit a far-off kingdom that she had read about in one of her enchanted books. She opened the book, and to her amazement, the pages came alive with vibrant colors and lively characters. Rapunzel found herself standing in the very kingdom she had been reading about. The people of the kingdom welcomed her with open arms, and she had the most wonderful adventure. She rode on the back of a friendly dragon, danced with fairies in an enchanted forest, and even had tea with a talking squirrel. As the night wore on, Rapunzel knew it was time to return to her tower. She said her farewells to the characters in the book, and with a touch of the enchanted crystal, she was back in the Tower of Dreams. The next night, Rapunzel's heart was filled with a different dream. She wished to bring happiness to her village. So, she opened another book, and this time, she stepped into a world where she had the power to make everyone smile. With a wave of her hand, flowers bloomed, and the sky turned a brilliant shade of blue. Laughter filled the village as children played in fields of cotton candy, and animals sang joyful songs. Each night, Rapunzel's dreams took her on new adventures. She visited distant lands, met talking animals, and even explored the depths of the ocean. But no matter where she went, she always returned to her cozy tower, safe and sound. Word of Rapunzel's magical Tower of Dreams soon spread throughout the village. People came from near and far to see the tower and hear the tales of her adventures. Rapunzel was happy to share her stories, and in doing so, she brought joy and wonder to everyone. And so, Rapunzel's Tower of Dreams became a place of inspiration and imagination for all. It stood as a reminder that dreams could come true, and that with a little bit of magic and a lot of imagination, the world was a wondrous place to explore. From that day forward, Rapunzel continued to dream and share her adventures, making her village a place filled with hope, laughter, and endless possibilities. And they all lived happily ever after, in the glow of the Tower of Dreams.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in a magical land nestled deep within the enchanted forest, there lived a beautiful princess named Snow White. Snow White had skin as white as snow, lips as red as roses, and hair as black as ebony. She was kind-hearted, gentle, and loved by everyone in the kingdom. Snow White's stepmother, the wicked queen, was envious of her beauty. Every day, she would ask her magic mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And each time, the mirror would reply, "Snow White is the fairest of them all." Enraged by the mirror's response, the queen devised a wicked plan. She ordered her huntsmen to take Snow White deep into the forest and to return with her heart as proof that she was gone forever. The huntsman, who had a kind heart, couldn't bear to harm the princess. Instead, he warned Snow White and set her free. Lost and alone in the dense forest, Snow White stumbled upon a small cottage. Inside, she found 7 tiny beds, 7 little chairs, and a table with 7 plates and 7 spoons. This must be the home of 7 dwarfs, Snow White thought. Soon, the 7 dwarfs returned from their long day of mining in the mountains. They were named Happy, Grumpy, Sleepy, Sneezy, Bashful, Dopey, and Dog. At first, they were surprised to find Snow White in their cottage, but when she told them her story, they welcomed her with open arms. Snow White offered to help with chores, and she quickly became the heart of the little family. She cooked delicious meals, sang sweet songs, and made everyone's life brighter. The dwarfs loved her, and they all became fast friends. Meanwhile, back in the castle, the wicked queen soon discovered that Snow White was still alive. She decided to take matters into her own hands and disguised herself as an old peddler woman. She offered Snow White a beautiful red apple that she had poisoned. Snow White was tempted by the shiny apple but hesitated. She remembered her friend's warning not to trust strangers. However, the queen convinced her that the apple was a special gift and that it would make her dreams come true. Snow White took a bite, and instantly, she fell into a deep sleep. When the dwarfs returned home and found Snow White unconscious, they were devastated. They knew they had to do something to save their dear friend. The forest animals and birds came to their aid, guiding them to a prince who had heard of Snow White's beauty and had been searching for her. The prince arrived at the cottage and kissed Snow White gently. His love broke the wicked queen's spell, and Snow White awoke. She and the prince fell in love, and the dwarfs were overjoyed to see their friend happy again. As for the wicked queen, her evil deeds caught up with her. She tried to harm Snow White one last time, but ended up facing her own downfall. And so Snow White, the 7 dwarfs, and the prince lived happily ever after in the enchanted forest, where kindness and friendship triumphed over jealousy and wickedness.
Sofia the First and the Enchanted Garden. Once upon a time, in the magical kingdom of Enchantia, there lived a kind and adventurous young girl named Sofia. She wasn't born a princess, but had become one through her courage, kindness, and big heart. One sunny morning, Sofia woke up with a bright idea. She wanted to create a special surprise for her friends, the animals of the Enchanted Garden. This magical garden was filled with talking animals who had become Sofia's closest companions. Sofia dashed to her closet and put on her favorite pink dress, the one that twinkled like stars when she twirled. Then, she grabbed her basket and set off towards the Enchanted Garden. As she walked, she hummed a cheerful tune, and soon, the birds high in the trees began to sing along with her. When she reached the garden, her furry and feathered friends were delighted to see her. Clover the rabbit hopped over, and Robin the bird landed on her shoulder. They all gathered around her, eager to hear her surprise.
I thought we could have a picnic today,
Sofia announced with a smile.
I've brought delicious treats and some tasty carrot muffins I baked just for you, Clover.
Clover's eyes widened with joy.
That sounds amazing, Sofia. Let's have the best picnic ever.
Sofia spread a checkered blanket on the soft grass, and her animal friends helped arrange the goodies. There were crunchy acorns for the squirrels, juicy berries for the birds, and fresh greens for the rabbits. Sofia even brought some magical blueberry lemonade that sparkled like stars in the sky. As they enjoyed their picnic, the animals and Sofia shared stories of their adventures. Sofia listened to their tales with wide-eyed wonder, and the animals couldn't help but giggle at her enthusiasm. Just as they were about to finish their picnic, Sofia had one more surprise up her sleeve. She had brought her magical amulet, the Amulet of Avalor. With a gentle touch, she made a wish. Suddenly, the garden filled with the most enchanting music, and the flowers around them started to dance. The animals and Sofia joined in, twirling and laughing as they danced with the enchanted flowers. It was the most joyful and magical picnic they had ever had. As the day turned into evening, the animals and Sofia bid each other farewell. Sofia headed back to the castle, her heart full of happiness. She knew that being a princess wasn't just about wearing a crown, it was about sharing love and creating beautiful memories with her friends, both human and animal alike. And so, in the kingdom of Enchantia, Sofia the First continued to grow into a kind and brave princess, making the world a brighter place one magical adventure at a time.
In the heart of the grim forest, where the trees creak like old doors and fog curls like ghostly fingers, lived a tiny, timid bug. He was so small, even ants looked bold next to him. Everything scared him, the rustle of leaves, the hoot of an owl, and especially the dark. But one gloomy evening, the forest turned completely silent. Shadows stretched longer. The cold got colder. The bug was shivering, not just from the cold, but from pure fear. But not far from there, up in a flower bedroom made of petals and moonlight, lived a young fairy in training. Every night, she was disturbed by the bug's non-stop panicking, his tiny footsteps, his frightened squeaks, and his anxious fluttering.
Ugh. Not again,
she yawned. Because of the bug's nighttime fear fest, she couldn't sleep properly, and every morning, she ended up late for magic school. At school, her eyelids drooped, she yawned during spell lessons, and worst of all, she couldn't focus during important magic classes. One day, in the middle of another foggy, soul-freezing night, the bug began to shiver, not from the cold, but pure fear. Just then, as the fog thickened and his knees wobbled, a gentle sparkle floated down from above. It was that very fairy, eyes half closed, holding a glowing wand, floating like a sleepy firefly. She muttered,
I snore must help that bug, or I'll never get rest again.
With a tired yawn, she tried to cast a simple spell. A glowing lantern to light the way. Lumos lantarum. She mumbled. But oops. Her sleep-deprived brain messed up the spell, and instead of creating a lantern, she accidentally made the bug's tail light up like a magical glow stick. Suddenly, the bug's back glowed with a warm magical light. He blinked in surprise, then looked around. And guess what? The scary shadows? Gone. The spooky glowing eyes? Just a dry tree. The weird noises? Only his own jittery steps. With light on his tail and courage in his heart, he walked confidently through the forest. No longer scared, no longer lost.
The Dragon Warrior's Journey. Once upon a time in the mystical Valley of Peace, there lived a clumsy and lovable panda named Pooh. Pooh was the biggest fan of kung fu in the entire valley, but he had one small problem: he was the owner of the local noodle shop, not a martial artist. Every day, Pooh would dream of becoming a kung fu master like the Furious Five, a group of skilled warriors who defended the valley. Tigress, monkey, mantis, viper, and crane were admired by everyone, but Pooh's heart longed to join their ranks. One day, a messenger arrived with news that the treacherous Tai Lung, a snow leopard who had once been a student of Master Shifu, had escaped from prison and was headed to the valley. Tai Lung sought a legendary scroll that would make him the most powerful warrior in the world, and only the Dragon Warrior could stop him. Master Shifu, the wise and elderly red panda who was the valley's kung fu master, organized a tournament to determine the Dragon Warrior. Against all odds, Pooh was chosen as the Dragon Warrior when he stumbled into the arena. No one could believe it, especially not Pooh himself. Under the guidance of Master Shifu and with the support of the Furious Five, Pooh embarked on a rigorous training journey. He faced countless challenges, each more difficult than the last. But Pooh's determination, resilience, and a deep love for kung fu kept him going. As the days passed, Pooh discovered that being the Dragon Warrior wasn't about being the strongest or most skilled fighter. It was about believing in himself and finding his own unique style. He learned that he could use his size, agility, and love for food to create a unique and powerful form of kung fu. When the final battle against Tai Lung arrived, Pooh was ready. He faced his fears and confronted Tai Lung with a combination of skill, humor, and inner strength. Pooh unleashed the power of the Dragon Warrior and defeated Tai Lung, saving the valley and becoming a true hero. From that day forward, Pooh was recognized as the Dragon Warrior, not just because of his strength but because of his heart. He continued to run his noodle shop, bringing joy and delicious food to the valley, but now he also protected it as a member of the Furious Five. Pooh's journey from a clumsy noodle chef to the Dragon Warrior showed everyone that anyone, no matter their background or limitations, could achieve greatness if they believed in themselves and followed their passion. And in the Valley of Peace, they all lived happily ever after, thanks to the courage and determination of Pooh, the Kung Fu Panda.
The Incredible Super Family Vacation. The Incredibles had saved the world countless times, but even superheroes needed a break. So, one sunny morning, the Super Family, also known as the Incredibles, packed their bags and set off on an extraordinary adventure, a super family vacation. Bob Purr, aka Mr. Incredible, was excited to finally have some quality time with his family outside of crime fighting. Helen, aka Elastigirl, couldn't wait to relax and enjoy some well-deserved peace. Dash, Violet, and Jack, their three superpowered children, were thrilled about the prospect of new adventures. Their destination was Super Island, a hidden paradise for superheroes. With secret tunnels, hidden beaches, and a strict no-villain policy, it was the perfect getaway for the superpowered family. As they arrived on the island, they were greeted by a friendly welcome committee of fellow heroes. Everyone was excited to see the Incredibles and wanted to share their own vacation stories. Frozone told them about his epic snowboarding adventure down Super Mountain, and Gazerbeam boasted about discovering the island's ancient ruins with his laser vision. The Incredibles wasted no time exploring the island. Dash challenged Frozone to a race around the island, while Violet and Helen decided to try out their powers in the island's crystal-clear waters. Bob, on the other hand, couldn't resist showing off his strength by helping the island's maintenance crew repair a few buildings. In the evenings, the family gathered around a campfire with their new superhero friends, sharing stories, roasting marshmallows, and laughing until the stars twinkled in approval overhead. They even managed to have a family movie night, thanks to Violet's ability to create a giant outdoor screen. But the highlight of their vacation was a daring adventure to the island's most famous hidden treasure, the lost caverns of Super Island. With Dash's super speed, Violet's force fields, and Helen's stretching abilities, they navigated the treacherous tunnels and traps, finally discovering the legendary super gem, a priceless jewel with the power to grant any superhero an additional ability. However, they decided that they didn't need any more powers. They were already an incredible family with unique strengths and abilities. So, they left the super gem where they found it, content with the powers they already possessed and the bond that made them unstoppable. As their vacation came to an end, the Incredibles knew that they had created memories that would last a lifetime. They returned to their crime-fighting duties with renewed energy and a deeper appreciation for the importance of family time. Super Island had given them the perfect super family vacation, proving that even heroes needed a break now and then.
Tinker is born from the first laugh of a baby, and is brought by the winds to Pixie Hollow. She learns she is a Tinker Fairy, tasked with fixing and creating items. Two other Tinker Fairies, Bobble and Clank, teach her their craft, and tell her about the fairies who visit the mainland to bring each season. Tink is thrilled and can't wait to go to the mainland for spring. While out working, she meets a water fairy named Silvermist, a garden fairy named Rosetta, a light fairy named Iridessa, and an animal fairy named Fawn. After meeting them, she notices an ill-tempered fast-flying fairy named Vidya, who immediately dislikes her because of her unusually strong talent. Vidya challenges her to prove she'll be able to go to the mainland, and Tink creates several inventions out of lost things that she found on the beach, which she shows to the Minister of Spring. But Tinker Bell soon learns from Queen Clarion that only nature talent fairies visit the mainland. Desperate to help change the seasons in the mainland, Tink tries her hand at nature skills, making dewdrops with Silvermist, lighting fireflies with Iridessa, and trying with Fawn to teach baby birds to fly. But she fails miserably at all of these when she gets attacked by a hawk. On the beach, Tinker Bell finds parts of a music box and figures out how to put them together. Iridessa, Fawn, Silvermist, and Rosetta witness her doing this, then tell her that she was tinkering and that she should be proud of her talent. If this is what she's good at, the mainland shouldn't matter. But Tinker Bell still wants to go to the mainland. She asks Rosetta if she'll still teach her to be a garden fairy. But Rosetta says that tinkering is Tinker Bell's natural talent. As a last resort, Tinker Bell asks Vidya for help in becoming a garden fairy. Vidya craftily tells her that capturing the sprinting thistles would prove her worth. However, once she sees Tink making progress, she lets the captured thistles loose, and in attempting to recapture them, Tink destroys all the preparations for spring. After seeing the destruction she caused, Tink decides to run. But after talking with the Dustkeeper Terence about how important his job is, she realizes the importance of a tinker. Tinker Bell redeems herself by using lost things to invent machines that quicken the process of doing tedious tasks such as decorating flowers, painting bugs, planting seeds, etc. This allows the other fairies to get back on schedule, thus saving the arrival of spring. Vidya is punished for prompting her to cause the chaos, and Queen Clarion allows Tink to join the nature talent fairies when they bring spring to the mainland. Tinker Bell is given the task of delivering the music box to its original owner, after she goes with her friends across the continent. So when lost toys are found or a broken clock starts to work, It all means that one very special fairy might be near.
Belle's Pixie Party. Once upon a time, in the magical land of Pixie Hollow, there lived a tiny and spirited fairy named Tinker Bell. Tinker Bell was known for her incredible talent of fixing things and creating the most beautiful trinkets. But more than that, she was famous for throwing the most fantastic parties in all of Pixie Hollow. One sunny morning, as Tinker Bell fluttered around her cozy Tinker Nook, she had a brilliant idea.
I should host a pixie party,
she exclaimed to herself. With a mischievous glint in her eyes, Tinker Bell set to work. She flew over to her friend Silvermist's pond and invited her with a splash.
Silvermist, you're the guest of honor at my pixie party. Your water tricks will dazzle everyone.
Silvermist, the water talent fairy, clapped her hands with excitement.
I'd love to come, Tinker Bell. I'll bring my best water tricks.
Next, Tinker Bell visited Fawn in the meadow.
Fawn, you're invited too. Your animal friends will make our pixie party unforgettable.
Fawn, the animal talent fairy, grinned from ear to ear.
I wouldn't miss it for the world, Tink. The animals will be thrilled to join the fun.
Tinker Bell continued to invite all her friends. Rosetta brought her lovely flowers, Iridessa lit up the party with her radiant light, and even Clank and Bobble, the Tinker Fairies, joined to help with decorations and inventions. As the day of the Pixie Party drew near, Pixie Hollow buzzed with excitement. All the fairies worked together to create a magical setting. They strung up delicate flower garlands, arranged luminescent fireflies in lanterns, and set up colorful toadstools for seating. The day of the Pixie Party arrived, and Tinker Bell welcomed everyone with a warm smile. The fairies danced, laughed, and played games. Silvermist amazed everyone by making water jump and twirl in the air, and Fawn's animal friends performed acrobatic tricks. Rosetta's flowers bloomed in vibrant colors, and Iridessa's light created a beautiful, shimmering ambience. Clank and Bobble had built a fantastic contraption that showered the partygoers with colorful confetti. As the sun began to set, Tinker Bell unveiled her grand finale, a dazzling display of fireflies that lit up the night sky like 1,000 stars. It was a breathtaking sight that left everyone in awe. The Pixie Party had been a huge success, thanks to Tinker Bell and all her talented friends. As the fairies bid each other goodnight and returned to their homes in Pixie Hollow, they knew they would cherish the memories of this magical night forever. And so, in the enchanting land of Pixie Hollow, Tinker Bell's Pixie Party became a legendary event, celebrated year after year, reminding everyone that with a little creativity and the help of friends, even the smallest of fairies can create the grandest of adventures.
Tinkerbell and the Fairy Rescue. Tinkerbell fluttered through the lush expanse of Pixie Hollow, her wings buzzing with excitement. Today was the annual fairy gathering, where fairies from all over Neverland shared stories, songs, and, most importantly, their latest adventures. Tick loved these gatherings. They were always filled with joy and laughter. However, this year, something unexpected was about to unfold. As the fairies assembled around the grandest oak tree, the air buzzed with anticipation. Queen Clarion stood before them, her golden wings shimmering in the dappled sunlight. Welcome, dear fairies, to another wonderful gathering. Let us share our tales and celebrate our unity. Fairy after fairy recounted their tales of magic and wonder until it was Tinkerbell's turn. She stepped forward, her eyes twinkling with excitement.
I'd like to share a story about a rescue mission that happened just last week.
The crowd leaned in, eager to hear.
It all started when Vidya, the fast-flying fairy, and I were exploring the outskirts of Neverland. We heard a faint cry for help coming from a thicket. Pushing through the dense foliage, we discovered a young fairy named Daisy trapped in a sticky spider's web. She was frightened and unable to free herself.
Gasps of concern rippled through the audience.
I quickly assessed the situation and realized we needed to act fast. Vidya used her incredible speed to distract the spider, while I carefully worked on untangling Daisy from the web. But it wasn't easy, the threads were strong and sticky.
Tick paused for dramatic effect, her wings shimmering with the memory of the tense moment.
Just as I freed Daisy, the spider returned, angrier than ever. Vidya swooped down, creating a whirlwind that confused the spider long enough for us to escape.
The fairies held their breath, their eyes wide with anticipation.
Finally, we reached the safety of Pixie Hollow. The spider gave up and retreated into the woods. Daisy was safe, and we were hailed as heroes. But it wasn't about the praise. It was about the teamwork and the reminder that even in the darkest moments, we fairies must stick together and help one another.
The crowd erupted in applause, their wings fluttering in admiration. Tinkerbell smiled, feeling a warm glow of pride and belonging. Queen Clarion stepped forward, her eyes shining with approval.
Thank you, Tinkerbell, for reminding us of the strength in unity and the importance of bravery. Let this tale inspire us all to be courageous and kind.
As the gathering continued, Tinkerbell felt a deep sense of satisfaction. It was moments like these that made her realize the true magic of being a fairy, the ability to make a difference, no matter how small. And with that, the fairies of Pixie Hollow celebrated not just their adventures, but the bonds that held them together.
In 2002 Toronto, 13-year-old Mei-Lin Mei-Li lives with her parents, Ming and Jean. Helps take care of the family's temple dedicated to her maternal ancestor Sun Yi, and works to make her mother proud. She hides her personal interests from Ming, such as the fact that she and her friends Miriam, Priya, and Abby are fans of the boy band 4 Town. One night when Ming, who is strict and overprotective, discovers May's crush on Devon, the 17-year-old local convenience store clerk, she inadvertently humiliates May in public. That night, May has a vivid nightmare involving red pandas. When she wakes up the next morning, she finds that she has transformed into a large red panda. She hides from her parents and discovers that she transforms only when she is in a state of high emotion. When May reverts to human form, her hair remains red, and so she goes to school in a 2K. Ming initially believes May is experiencing her first period, but learns the truth when she gets into an altercation with the school's security guard, causing May to transform from embarrassment and run home in panic and tears. Ming and Jean explain that Sun Yi was granted this transformation to protect her daughters and her village during wartime, and that all her female descendants have also had this ability. This has become inconvenient and dangerous in modern times. So the red panda spirit must be sealed in a talisman by a ritual on the night of a lunar eclipse, which will take place in a month's time. May's friends discover her transformation, but take a liking to it. May finds that concentrating on them enables her to control her transformations. Ming allows May to resume her normal life, but refuses to let May attend 4 Town's upcoming concert. Instead, the girls secretly raise money for the tickets at school by exploiting the popularity of May's red panda form, while lying to Ming about how May is spending her time. To raise the last $100, May agrees to attend school bully Tyler's birthday party as the red panda. Before May leaves, May's grandmother and aunts arrive to assist with May's ritual. At the party, May is upset to discover that the concert will be on the night she is to undergo the ritual. In her rage, she attacks Tyler when he insults her family, frightening the other kids. Ming discovers May's activities and blames May's friends for everything. May fails to come to her friend's defense to maintain Ming's approval. While cleaning, Jean finds videos she recorded of herself as the red panda with her friends, and tells her she should not be ashamed of this side of her, but to embrace it. During the ritual, as May's red panda form is about to be sealed, she decides to keep her powers and abandons the ritual to attend the concert at the Skydome. In making her escape, she breaks Ming's talisman, releasing her red panda form as well. At the concert,
May reconciles with her friends and Tyler. However, an enraged Ming, having become a kaiju-sized red panda, disrupts the concert, intending to take May back by force. May and Ming argue about the former's independence. As they fight, May accidentally knocks her mother unconscious. May's grandmother and aunts break their talismans to use their red panda forms to help drag Ming into a new ritual circle. May's friends and 4 town join in singing to complete the ritual, sending May, Ming, and the other women to the astral plane. May reconciles with her mother and helps Ming mend her bond with her own mother, whom Ming accidentally scarred in anger in the past. The other women contain their red pandas in new talismans, but May decides to keep hers and Ming accepts that she is finding her own path. In 2003, Lee family raises money to repair the damage to the Sky Dome. May and Ming's relationship has improved. May balances her temple duties, where her red panda form is now an attraction, and spends time with her friends and Tyler.
Vampirina's Enchanted Halloween. Once upon a time, in the magical town of Spooksville, lived a little vampire girl named Vampirina. Vampirina was not like other vampires. She didn't scare people or sleep in a dark, spooky castle. Instead, she loved to spread joy and happiness in her vibrant, bat-shaped house. Halloween was Vampirina's favorite time of the year. She couldn't wait to celebrate with her friends in Spooksville. This year, Vampirina had a special plan to make Halloween even more enchanting. Vampirina invited all her friends. A werewolf named Wolfgang, a ghost named Ghostly Gabby, and a mummy named Mummy Maya, to her bat-shaped house for a Halloween party. Everyone was excited, and they each brought a spooky treat to share. As the moon rose high in the sky, Vampirina's house twinkled with magical lights. Pumpkins grinned, ghosts floated around, and the air was filled with laughter. The friends played fun games like Bat and Seek and Mummy Rap. Vampirina even taught them her special dance, the spooky spin. Suddenly, the party took an unexpected turn. A mischievous ghost named Giggly Gus, who loved to play tricks, appeared. He decided to add a bit of extra magic to the night. Giggly Gus waved his ghostly hands, and suddenly, the decorations came to life. Pumpkins started dancing, bats twirled in the air, and even the mummy joined in with her bandage boogie. The friends were amazed by the enchanted Halloween spectacle. Vampirina giggled, realizing that Giggly Gus's trick had turned the party into an unforgettable adventure. As the night unfolded, the enchanted Halloween continued with a friendly costume contest. Each friend dressed up in creative and spooky costumes. Vampirina, of course, wore a sparkly bat costume that shimmered in the moonlight. When the clock struck midnight, the magical enchantment began to fade. The decorations returned to their usual state, but the memories of the enchanted Halloween lingered in everyone's hearts. The friends thanked Vampirina for the most unforgettable Halloween ever. They hugged and promised to meet again for more magical adventures in Spooksville. Vampirina waved goodbye as her friends left with smiles on their faces. And so, in the magical town of Spooksville, Vampirina and her friends continued to share laughter and joy, making every day as enchanting as Halloween night.
Winnie the Pooh's Great Honey Adventure. Once upon a time in the 100-acre wood, there lived a very special bear named Winnie the Pooh. He was a round and cuddly bear who loved honey more than anything else in the world. Pooh was a friendly bear, and he had many wonderful friends who lived nearby, like Piglet, Eeyore, Tigger, Rabbit, and Owl. One sunny morning, Pooh woke up feeling extra hungry. He could feel his tummy rumbling, and he knew it was time for a honey adventure. So, he put on his favorite red shirt, which was getting a little snug from all the honey he had been eating lately, and set off on his journey to find some delicious honey. He walked through the lush green forest, humming a happy tune to himself. Along the way, he met his good friend Piglet, who was busy collecting acorns. Piglet's eyes widened with excitement. "Oh, Pooh, that sounds like so much fun. I'd love to join you." Together, Pooh and Piglet continued their journey, their footsteps crunching on the fallen leaves. They came across a meadow filled with beautiful wildflowers and butterflies. Just as they were about to move on, they heard a cheerful voice coming from the trees. "Hey, there! What's all the fuss about?" It was their bouncy friend Tigger, bouncing on his springy tail. Pooh explained their honey adventure to Tigger, who immediately joined them, saying, "Hoo hoo hoo! I'm always up for an adventure, especially if it involves honey." The trio hopped and skipped through the 100-acre wood until they reached a tall beehive hanging from a tree. Pooh's eyes twinkled with delight, and his tummy rumbled even louder. But there was a problem. The beehive was high up in the tree, and none of them could reach it. Just then, Rabbit hopped by, carrying a basket of freshly picked carrots. When he heard about Pooh's honey adventure, he offered to help. With Rabbit's clever plan, they built a makeshift ladder using sticks and vines. Tigger, being the bravest of them all, climbed up the ladder and carefully lowered the beehive down to the ground. As they opened the hive, the sweet aroma of honey filled the air, and they couldn't help but smile with joy. They each enjoyed a spoonful of honey, and it was the most delicious honey they had ever tasted. With their tummies full and hearts content, they all sat down under the shade of a big tree. Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Rabbit laughed and shared stories about their adventure. They realized that sometimes, the best adventures were the ones they had together with their friends. And so, Winnie the Pooh and his friends learned that while honey was sweet and delicious, the sweetness of friendship was even more precious. As the sun began to set over the 100-acre wood, they headed back to their homes, knowing that they would always be there for each other, just like the honey in their hearts.